The Toronto Raptors continue to make moves after completely overhauling their roster ahead of this year's trade deadline, as Mouhamadou Gueye is now signed to a two-way contract. And with this signing, it's going to lead to another transaction, whether it be a waiving, signing, adjustment, whatever it is, it's going to have to happen. So we'll break down what this means for the Toronto Raptors roster, why I expect him to actually get minutes to close off this season, and just what to look for this Toronto Raptors young group as we close out the year without likely our star Scotty Barnes. So lots of stuff to break down this video, but before we do, folks, we are very, very close to 34,000 subscribers, just like 20 away or something. Over 55% of our viewers are not subscribed, so it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button so we could hit that 34,000 subscriber milestone. But let's dive into the news, because we had a little Woj, or I think it's a Shams bomb actually, but Woj is getting credit for the animation there. Need a Shams animation now at this point. But basically, the Toronto Raptors are signing Mouhamadou Gueye on a two-way NBA deal. Sources have told The Athletic, Gueye appeared in one game for the Toronto Raptors over a 10-day contract after spending the season with the G League's Raptors 905. So, Mouhamadou Gueye, again, we've broken him down in recent videos because he was picked up in that 10-day contract sort of setting. Didn't think he'd end up coming back because, you know, a lot was made from reporters and stuff about how the 905 guys get brought up for 10 days so they get some extra money, get rewarded for playing for the Raptors 905. Him and Justice Winslow got sent back down, didn't get much opportunity. Played one game, barely played in that one game. So Mouhamadou Gueye has been on the Toronto Raptors, but he's been within the organization for the entire season. He's a guy that's super athletic, you know. Darko Rajovic kind of called him a wing in his media availability today, but, you know, he's 6'9", so a four-man, 210. He's a guy that has long arms as well. He's very athletic. He's a hustler, you know, 25 years old, so not super young, but not super old by any means either. But a guy that can come in, play the forward position, play a small ball forward, has a similar frame to Chris Boucher, so kind of getting that similar role without as much jump shooting, you know, for Mouhamadou Gueye coming into this roster. And again, for the Raptors 905 has put up some solid stats, you know, this season for the Raptors 905. You know, looking at 14 points per game on 53% shooting. You know, not the greatest free throws by any means, below 50%. The jump shot is not there from Mouhamadou Gueye, but 9 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 2.5 blocks per night. He's a menace on the defensive end. He's switchable. He comes over on the weak side, can block shots. And, you know, in the same vein, Chris Boucher was a defensive player of the year for the Raptors 905 in the past in the G League. Mouhamadou Gueye provides that sort of similar value. And this is where I think he will actually play, because Jakob Poeltl in last night's game went down with a hand injury, further depleting our front court, further depleting the front court of the Toronto Raptors. So Chris Boucher was still not in the lineup, and I would be surprised if Boucher didn't play last night. If he didn't get any opportunity during that stretch, I'd be shocked to see him get any consistent run for the rest of the season. That's just how it's going to be. Whether you agree, you disagree, the Raptors seem like they're going to be moving in development movement. Some might word that as a tank. Some people might word that as sort of moving in the direction of trying to lose. But I think it's just seeing what prospects, seeing guys that haven't been given an opportunity. Because Boucher has been given an opportunity at times throughout the season. Now it's going to be handed to different players. Jonte Porter came off the bench before Chris Boucher. Darko Rajovic is just not like Chris Boucher. And you know, if we were winning, I'd be a lot more fired up and disappointed, but the Raptors aren't really going in a winning route. Still sucks for Chris Boucher, who's a Canadian fan favorite, at least one of my favorite Toronto Raptors, even though, you know, I get the reasons why Darko Rajovic might not be the biggest fan of his style of game and stuff, but Mouhamadou Gueye, I think, will be filling those roles, filling that minutes that Chris Boucher just isn't getting here now at this point, because a little more energy, a little bit younger, all these types of things. So that's why I think this is an actual signing for this. But this signing, and the reason this came out a while ago, I was going to immediately react. But basically, when this deal came out, to me, you look at this roster, and other moves have to be made now with Mouhamadou Gueye getting that two-way spot, because it's hard to keep track of everything that's sort of gone on in recent weeks. But Javon Freeman-Liberty, who was on a two-way contract, so the Raptors had 3 two-way contracts coming into the season, the maximum you can have on the roster. Javon Freeman-Liberty, they had Marquise Noel, and then they had Ron Harper Jr. Ron Harper Jr. went down with injury, so then Porter ended up getting picked up and put into that two-way spot. So again, we're back to 3. A week ago, Javon Freeman-Liberty ended up getting signed and is now on an actual full-out Toronto Raptors roster position, despite the fact that he doesn't play. So that opened up more two-way spots. And then more moves happened because DJ Carton ended up getting signed to that two-way position, filling up that final two-way spot. And I've been waiting to see who's getting cut, who's getting adjusted, what's going on here now at this point, because the Toronto Raptors currently have 3 two-way spots, and they somehow signed Mouhamadou Gueye to another two-way spot. So that means either one of Jonte Porter, one of Marquise Noel, one of DJ Carton are getting moved up to the actual sort of main roster, or I'm not sure the roster openings there along those lines. I know some things have opened up following the trade deadline, or one of them are getting cut. And a guy like Marquise Noel has really seen the run, hasn't seen the floor much on the Toronto Raptors main group. Wouldn't be surprised because Jonte Porter obviously is a dude that has been getting actual minutes for the Toronto Raptors, right? I'd be shocked if they brought in DJ Carton, just immediately cut him and bring in Mo Gueye. So it's either going to be Marquise Noel kind of completely sent out, which would suck because we didn't really see him get an opportunity in the actual NBA. Seemed like a really fun player. A guy that said he'd be the greatest Toronto Raptor of all time. Seemed to have a really cool attitude coming into this team. He might get cut, but that would suck to see. I don't know what's really going on, but no one's reporting it. No one's sort of coming out. No reports from Lewinberg, Michael Grange. As of me, immediately sort of, I checked it one last time before I sat down and recorded on this video. So more news is surely to come for this Toronto Raptors team, for this Toronto Raptors group at this point. But looking at the roster, regardless of how it shakes out, I mean, especially if Jakob Poeltl, where it doesn't seem like there's structural damage. We don't have injury updates regarding Jakob Poeltl just yet, but really, in terms of, it's Kelly Olynyk right now, who's the front court player, the only front court guy that Darko Rajakovic seems willing to really give minutes. I mean, even Abaji, who's naturally a 2, was playing the power forward position for the Toronto Raptors in last night's game. Chris Boucher obviously can fill that role, but I think Porter as well as Mo Gueye will be the 2 players that we actually see getting run to close out this season, to get an opportunity to show what they can do, out there in the front court. And then even DJ Carton's getting some run. Javon Freeman-Liberty is another guy that I'm just surprised that the Raptors would give that actual full-out roster spot to without ever really playing him at any point over the course of the season into meaningful minutes in the actual NBA. Obviously leading the G League in scoring, putting up some dumb stats out there in the G League. Makes sense, earn that spot, but I'm really surprised that we just haven't seen him get that opportunity yet with the main club. And we're in sicko time of the season, right? You got to be, the Raptors, especially without Scotty Barnes, you got to be a diehard right now to be watching these games to see what players could potentially shine through, could potentially, not necessarily earn a roster spot for the rest of this year. That doesn't really matter, but show out and prove to Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, that they are guys that are worth keeping around for the future, worth giving multi-year contracts, worth, having, going through training camp and earning a spot for potentially next year when the Raptors are going to be back on track in terms of at least hoping to win some games to get into the playoff stuff. And the Raptors obviously beat the Charlotte Hornets last night. Big games from RJ as well as Manuel quickly. Not a super efficient night, but Abaji played really well, in my opinion, on the defensive end. Could have hit some more shots, but was doing the right things out there. There are some promising young pieces on this team. It just all has to kind of come together, grow, develop, and has to be patched together in the off season. So moves are to come in the next. I'd imagine these moves have to happen immediately if Mo Gueye is getting signed. So we'll see what happens when that news sort of comes out. We'll be here to cover it, but definitely in the off season, particularly the front court, the forward positions, as Doug Smith sort of revealed in a recent article, they will have to be fortified. And Mo Gueye will have an opportunity to sort of prove himself as a guy that maybe should be, taking a serious look at in terms of being a pillar in terms of the front court for the Toronto Raptors moving forward. But folks, you guys have to think this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.